In this lesson, we're taking a look at Anarchy in the UK by the Sex Pistols. This is part of my power chord series, so you'll find more power chord based lessons via the link in the description. And this is a classic punk tune, mainly using power chord riffs, but there are also a couple of guitar solos that we're going to take a look at to make sure we cover everything. But for now, let's start with that pretty explosive intro. So we're starting with a high G power chord rooted up here on the 10th fret of the A string. This is an octave above your normal G power chord that you'd play down on the 3rd fret of the bottom string, but it's really important that you use the high version of the G because this riff has like a descending feel to it, so you need to start high up so you can move downwards in pitch. We're going to do one full bar just of downstrummed 8th notes, so 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then one final strum on the first beat of the second bar. And then we just let the chord ring out for that entire second bar. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. We then move down a tone to the F power chord rooted on the 8th fret of the A string, and we're just going to do downstrummed 8th notes for another bar. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Then we're going to move down one more fret to the E, give it one strum. Move down another tone to the D, give it a strum. And they're half a bar each, so far, starting from the G. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, F, 2, 3, 4, E to D. Then we're moving down another tone to a C power chord rooted on the 3rd fret of the A string, and we're going to do 4 bars of downstrummed 8th notes but using a palm mute, so this sound. 4 full bars of the C, so it feels like quite a long time that you're chugging away on the C chord, but it's just building up to the lyrics coming in the first verse. Now another thing I want to mention is the sound of the guitar. Obviously you want quite a lot of distortion on to give it that kind of thrashy punky sound, but you can also hear a bit of modulation going on. There's like a slight phasing effect in the guitar sound. So you could try using a phaser or a flanger to mimic that. That's what I did in the demo. It does help get the sound of the original track through, but for the purpose of teaching and just so you can hear a bit more clearly, I've taken it off for the lesson. But definitely put a little bit of modulation on if you've got some to try and mimic the sound of the original track. And that gives you the intro. So just one quick recap, we're starting up on the G, then descending to F, then we've got E, D, and then 4 bars of C with the palm mute. It just keeps going on that C chord until the verse starts. For the verse, we're going to stay on that C chord and we're going to keep the down strums, but we're going to lose the palm mute, so it kind of bigs it up a little bit, and we've got this groove going on. And essentially what we're doing here is we're just lifting up the first finger, so we have the open A string on the back beat. So that's on beats 2 and 4 of every bar. So if you think of it as groups of 4 strums, it's always going to be on the 3rd strum of that group of 4. So with proper musical counting, that would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... But if you just think of it simply as groups of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So just using that open A string to highlight the backbeat. And the only other thing you need to add in is a high F power chord and an E power chord, just one strum on each at the end of each second bar. So we've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. And that gives you your verse groove. The only other thing you need to be aware of is that the final bar before the chorus comes back in, it doesn't go up to the F and the E, it just stays on that C chord. And then you're sliding up to the G for the start of the chorus, which we'll take a look at now. So the chorus is pretty much a mixture of the intro and the verse. We're starting up on that high G and we've got the same descending pattern that we had at the start. So the G, down to the F, to E, to D, but then we're going into the verse groove, so with the little open A string on the backbeat, with the Fs and Es up top as well. Now the end of the chorus differs depending on which part of the song you're playing. If you're going into another verse, it simply goes down to a G power chord, this time definitely on the bottom string to kind of build up to that next verse. So that sounds like this. You just get a few kind of aggressive downstrums on that G to build up to the C chord again, rather than staying on the C the whole time. However, if it's one of the choruses that leads into a guitar solo, the guitar solos often involve a move up to the D chord. So because we're moving away from the C chord at the end, he just stays on the C chord until the end of that chorus. So just to give you an example, that would be like this. And then from there, we'd move up to the D chord into the guitar solo rhythm, which we're going to take a look at now. So in the demo at the start of the lesson, I condensed all the parts into just a short playthrough, but in the actual song, the first solo comes in after the second chorus. And as I said, the rhythm part is going to start on a D chord, and we're just going to be moving between a downstrums on a D power chord and an E power chord, 1 bar each. So we've got D to E, back to D, to E, third time D to E, and then after 3 full repeats of those 2 chords, we're just doing 1 more bar on the D. So it's kind of like 3.5 repeats of the phrase, and then after that final bar of D, we're down to a G chord for just 4 whole bars of downstrums. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That takes us into the next verse. So just to clarify, the full rhythm for the first guitar solo goes like this. We've got D to E, 3 times, one more bar of D, then 4 bars of G. Then into the next verse, but for now let's look at the actual lead part that goes over the top. So we're going to start by setting up this little diagonal shape where we've got third finger playing the 14th fret of the G string, second finger playing the 13th fret of the B, and first finger playing the 12th fret of the high E. And we're actually going to slide into this shape after picking the G string. And after you've slid into position, it's going to be up picks on the top string, then the B string, then the G string again. So the picking pattern is G, E, B, G with the slide. Now that specific part in that position matches the D chord in the rhythm. For the E chord, we're simply going to take this shape and slide it up a tone. So pick the G string again, slide up 2 frets, and then finish off with the same picking pattern. So now we've got third finger on 16th fret, second finger on 15, and first finger on 14. And the lead part matches up with the rhythm directly. So we've got the D, then the E, and then when you go back down to the D, it might help to slide down too far so you can slide back into place again. Up to the E. Remember, it's 3 times, matching the rhythm. And then we had that extra bar of D, so we're going to go down to the first position again. And then after that, we're moving on to the lead part that matches with the G chord in the rhythm, which sounds like this. So we've got a few double stops going on here, which is where we're picking multiple notes at the same time. So we're going to start with first finger doing a little bar on the 12th fret, G string and B string. We're going to do a few down picks on those two strings together. Then we're going to bring in second and third finger to play 14th fret G and 13th fret B. Same down picks, and then on the last one, give it a pick and slide up 2 frets. So now we've got second finger on 16th fret G and, third finger on 16th fret G, second finger on 15th fret B, and just a couple more picks there. So if you put those double stops together, and then the ending of this solo is really buried in the mix, but after a little bit of close listening, what I can pick out is this little melody. That's what I played in the demo, so you can play it this way if you like the sound of it. So it's going to be first finger playing the 5th fret of the G string, third finger on 7th fret, back to first finger on 5th fret, then move down to the 4th fret. So then there's a little gap as you move on to the D string. We're starting with 5, 7, 5 again with the same fingers, followed by just the open D. So that's... And at the end of the solo, it sounds like he just joins in with the downstrummed power chords on the G on the bottom string. So if we put that ending together, there's a few little gaps as you change between the strings as well, which makes it quite easy to play. So if we put that whole first solo together, starting with the bits that match the D and E parts, we're going to have the D, up to the E, same again, final time, then we've got that one final bar of D, then the double stops, then the little ending, and then into the next verse, and that gives you the whole of the first guitar solo. Following that first guitar solo, we have another verse and chorus, then we're into the second guitar solo. Now in terms of the rhythm part, we're going to play exactly the same groove as the verse, but one tone higher. So rather than starting on the C and jumping up to F and E at the end, we're going to start on D, and we're still going to use the little open A trick on the backbeat. So, but this time we're sliding up to G on the 10th fret and then F sharp on the 9th fret. So exactly the same part, 2 frets higher. And like the verses, we're going to do 3 full phrases of that, but then on the final phrase, just stick on the D. So for the full second solo rhythm, it's going to be this. We're going to start on D chord, G and F sharp, three times, then just stay on D. Then we drop back down to the C for the next verse. And that gives you the rhythm part. For the lead part, we've got this catchy repeating phrase. And just to explain what's going on here, I've got the open D string, and then I've got the third finger playing the 7th fret of the G, little finger playing the 7th fret of the B string, but I've also got first finger pressed down ready on the 5th fret of the B string as well, because we're going to be using that note later. Now in terms of the muting, I've got the underside of my first finger touching the high E string, keeping it nice and quiet, and I've got my thumb wrapped around, which is keeping the low E and the A string quiet, so I can strum pretty hard, but only get the 3 strings that I actually want to hear ringing out, which are the D, G, and B. Now I'm going to start with 2 stabs on the 7th fret notes with third finger and little finger and the open D. And I'm making sure to touch the strings with the palm of my right hand in between each strum so I get that stabby effect. Following this, we're going to lift the little finger up so we hear the first finger, then pop the little finger back down again. That gives us our first 4 strums. And then for the second half, little finger's moving up to the 8th fret, back to the 7th, then we're going to lift little finger off and do 2 strums with the first finger playing the 5th fret, and then 3 strums with the little finger down to finish it off. And then the next strum would be the start of the next repeat. So in full. And again. And the part just repeats around like that. Now I'm using 1st, 3rd and little fingers, but you could use 1st, 2nd and 3rd if you wanted, if you want to angle the hand, if that feels more comfortable. Both work fine, so just see which one works best for you, and that is how you play the lead part of the second solo. And then to conclude the song, after that second solo, you've got another verse followed by a quadruple chorus. So they've gone for the big climactic ending where everyone can sing the chorus round and round, and it seems to just get a little bit more intense each time. So you're going to do 4 phrases of the chorus part, and then you're going to end on the C chord after the final repeat, and that'll give you all the parts to Anarchy in the UK. I hope you've enjoyed taking a look at this classic punk track. The parts are fairly simple, but there are quite a few of them, so try and make sure you get all the details in all the right places, and definitely if you can, use a looper to practice synchronizing the lead and rhythm parts in the solos. Now in this one, probably more importantly than getting the parts super accurate is getting the character of the sound through. So crank the distortion a bit, try and hit the strings quite hard, and really try and get through that thrashy, aggressive nature in your playing. Remember, you can subscribe for more guitar lessons, and I'd really appreciate you giving the video a like if you found it helpful. There are more power chord based lessons in the playlist in the description, so hopefully I'll see you for another lesson soon.